Hello, Arkansas, and welcome to this week's edition of Arkansas Money Talk, brought to you by the team of Retire Path Wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio is Dale Colclaser. He is the president of Wealth Management, and we have co-founder Mark Smalling. We've got a really important and informative show for you today. The title of today's episode is The Great Wealth Transfer. Are you ready for it? And you're going to want to stick with us to find out what we're talking about, especially if you were born between the years of 1946 and 1980. Mark, Dale, always a joy to be with you. How are you this week?
Fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I know you are raring to go on this subject, aren't you?
We are, yes. Yep.
So this great wealth transfer, here's the reality. It's important for folks to understand what's currently going on between generations as it relates to leaving money and for those of you that might be inheriting large sums of money. So let's first define, what is this great wealth transfer? What is actually occurring today?
Well, basically, you have this vast amount of wealth that's been accumulated by earlier generations. They're beginning to pass away and leave that money to the next generation, their children. That original generation were big savers, and so there's just a large sum of money there, and that transition's coming over. A lot of it's in qualified plans. It's interesting to us that also, a lot of that generation has not had a lot of conversations with their children about money.
It's been considered
necessarily.
taboo, right?
That's
exactly
correct.
By a lot of people.
You know, it's because their parents were that Depression generation, and you did what you did with your money. You didn't talk to folks about it.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
You know, because for whatever those reasons may be.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we want to talk about today specifically is, hey, let's have those conversations. Let's get this out in the open.
Yep.
Because we have this huge transition of wealth that transfers now. Priorly, before that, everything basically just kind of transferred in land or in a home or in savings. Yes, there are some consequences to that, obviously, with possibility of estate taxes. But now those levels are so high, that's really not our concern. It's the aspect of the impact of income taxes on that. And I know we haven't necessarily used the word legacy yet, but that fits into this as well. So many times when you say legacy, people think just about estate planning. They think about documents and having things in place. Yes, that's important, but the idea of the planning that comes along with those documents can be even more effective than just the documents themselves.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's a huge amount of money. I mean, we're talking about $84 trillion of assets that we're expecting to transfer.
84 trillion with a T.
84 trillion with a T. That's a big number.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you were saying that specifically from baby boomers on down,
yeah,
right?
to Generation X and millennials. So it's passing down. So I mean, and as Dale's saying, it is those conversations we need to have. I mean, I realize, it's difficult to have those conversations. I know with my parents and in-laws, and I mean, those conversations are not easy ones to have, but they're important ones to have.
They are really important ones to have. And depending on your family, I think of my own situation. Once my parents walked through the passing of their parents, they were like, okay, we need to make sure we have everything in order. So they started talking to me about this stuff when I was 16. And I remember thinking, I'm 16 years old. I don't want to think about you all dying. Why are you talking to me about this, right? But I'm so grateful. Then I marry into a wonderful family who I love, who was of the opinion, we don't talk about anything until the person passes away.
Wow.
Talk about two extremes, right? So hopefully we've been able to kind of meet in the middle. But again, it's so important to plan for this. And as we move on today's show, especially from a tax perspective, especially with this great wealth transfer occurring, $84 trillion. And to your point, most of it is sitting in these tax deferred accounts.
Well, we could do all this great planning for ourselves, and then somebody dumps all this in on us.
Which is a blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And then just kind of screws up the plans that we've had in place. But the idea is, if you have some kind of an understanding of what you're potentially looking at, I can think of a very particular story we've had just in the last couple of months in our office, how some firms are handling some of these transfers.
Oh yeah, you share this story. I would love for you to share it with our viewers.
Where we just had this client, and the parent passes away. The firm simply liquidates the 401k or the IRA account and sends them the money.
Okay, so just to clarify so our viewers understand, the person you are working with is the adult child.
That is correct.
They had no relationship with that advisory firm that their parents were working with.
That is also correct.
Okay, so the parent passes away, and what does this firm do?
They have a $400,000 IRA account, which, as we've discussed before, stretch is gone, but I do have at least 10 years that I have the ability to take the money out of that account. They don't even offer them that option. They simply liquidate the IRA and send them cash
Oh my goodness.
to be deposited. So now I've got a $400,000 tax liability that I've not planned for, I've not prepared for, that I haven't had in place. And so now we're trying to work from the back end to recoup that back out. Because most people's first thought is, oh, well, I'll just do an indirect rollover IRA. You can't do that in
Right.
a beneficial situation.
Right, when you're the beneficiary. It's different for spouses, but if you're the child inheriting the IRA, it's a whole different set of rules, a whole different ball game, and that's an important distinction. And I think, too, the other thing we need to point out, Gen X, which I am a part of, right? Gen X is now entering the retirement red zone, that critical 5 to 10 year window before retirement. So whether you are the person in maybe the baby boomer generation planning to pass on the wealth to your loved ones, or you're the loved one inheriting that wealth, so many things that need to be taken into consideration and planned for.
Right. I mean, because Gen Xers, I mean, we've been saving in tax-deferred vehicles ourselves. So you inherit that, you layer that on top of what you're already doing and the tax implications of what you've done and what you're going to have in the future. It just adds insult to injury.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
does.
Yeah. Well, I know we're going to get into some more specific implications from a tax perspective as we go on today's show, but just as we continue to set up the context for this great wealth transfer, you mentioned how important it is for families to be on the same page. I think of how this unfortunate situation, which now you're helping your client clean up the adult child, this could have been avoided if the right planning had been done, the right conversations had been had. How do you help folks navigate these important family conversations between generations at Retire Path Wealth?
Well, you try to facilitate them. And where we have them to invite them in, obviously first, you have that discussion with the client to see what their desires are.
And what their wishes are.
That's correct. So you know what they want to accomplish. Then you bring in, try to facilitate the process with the next generation to let them understand what those objectives are and how those things are going to transfer out. And again, the best laid plans are what they are, but know the sooner you start them, the better off you are, because as we've mentioned as well many times, nobody's promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the sooner we get these plans put in place, and really what I mean by that is you begin to think, gosh, I have these assets set aside. What do I want to see them do, not just for me, but for my family as well, or for charitable or whatever those desires may be. Many times then how we set up the distribution of those assets may make a whole lot more sense at this point, especially now that we bring up the charitable part, because ideally, if I want to leave money to a charity, maybe they get the qualified money because they're the ones that aren't going to pay taxes on it anyway.
Right.
We set up some other streams that are going to be less taxable that pass to the generations that we're interested in doing it. The other often can be, maybe I'm going to simply spend that money today on that next generation, so I actually get to see them enjoy the use of that money. So many times the old conversation was, I want to see all this money pass to my kids. Well, we started a number of years ago having that conversation of, might it be more enjoyable for you to actually see your children and grandchildren enjoy that money?
Yes, whether that may be a down payment on a house or, those types of things,
or
right?
a large family vacation or whatever else it is. It doesn't have to be just spending money or paying for college or doing something like that. Maybe it's actually building memories to where now there's something about, oh, great, they left me this money, but gosh, I remember the memories I had, and I have this other that's out there. So if you're one of those families and you've been in that situation, or we know it's coming up, and I don't have a solid plan in place for how I'm going to approach legacy planning in itself, the tax implications that come with legacy planning, or maybe I just need a little help forming what those plans should look like, please reach out, give us a ring today, scan the QR code, get in with our team, and let us help you work through that process.
Wonderful. Well, Mark Dale, thank you so much. I know we've got a lot more to cover on this important subject of the great wealth transfer, and most importantly, what it means for you. But if you would like help with any aspect of building a written income plan for your retirement, again, maybe you are concerned about passing on wealth. Maybe you're concerned about inheriting wealth. The team of Retire Path Wealth would love to be able to facilitate that conversation, make sure your family members are on the same page, and make sure that you're prepared no matter what end of that spectrum you might fall on. So to schedule your complimentary time to meet with the team of Retire Path Wealth, again, it's completely complimentary to you. Simply call the number on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-3893. Or if you'd rather connect online, if you pull out your smartphone, you can open up that camera app, just point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Retire Path Wealth will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. We'll continue this conversation of the great wealth transfer and what it means for you right after this.
We got to know where we're headed to. So I always call it a target that we're shooting for. Critical pieces of that is, at what age do you want to start looking at retirement becoming a reality? And then simply, what do we need for income to continue to live the standard of living that we're either accustomed to or that we want to have at that point? It looks like having a written income plan in place so that you know over the next 20 to 30 to 35, however long that time frame is that you have a sense of security of knowing that you're not going to run out of money. The idea is I like to be as tax efficient as possible, but we're going to be very proactive and futuristic, proactive tax planning. And then once we put that written income plan in place and they can look down to the end and there's still positive numbers left, at the end of that calculation, that's the most rewarding part of it, because you're going to retire once.
A retirement income planner isn't just a professional resource. They are your advocate, your strategist, and your guide on a journey to a successful retirement. At Retire Path Wealth, we work with families just like yours to customize strategies based on your unique goals, your risk tolerance, and your life stage to ensure your retirement plan aligns with your aspirations. Hi, I'm Dale Callclaser, Certified Financial Planner. If you are searching for a fulfilling retirement and confidence in your financial future, give us a call and learn more about how we can help.
Welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk, where today we are discussing the great wealth transfer and what it means for you. If you're just tuning in and joining us, it's estimated that $84 trillion is going to be passing from the baby boomer generation on down to Gen X and millennials. Obviously, there are implications for those who are passing on that wealth and for those of you who might be inheriting that wealth. That's why we're talking about it today. Before we dive back in, and I specifically want to get to the tax implications because that's a huge piece of this conversation, I'm curious, when folks do come in and meet with you for the first time and they have questions and concerns regarding passing on wealth, inheriting wealth, legacy planning, if you will, what's typically the most common question or concern that folks have?
Well, they don't know where to begin oftentimes. It's trying to figure out, what questions to ask. They haven't had these conversations we mentioned earlier. Talking about money is kind of taboo, and so they haven't had those conversations. And oftentimes, people aren't even aware that they have dollars that they may not need. When we start doing the planning, we kind of uncover that there's money that will probably never be spent in their lifetime, and it's going to be need to pass on somewhere else. And then it comes down. It's as much of a financial matter as a family matter. There are always family dynamics. There's oftentimes the child that's not great with money. There's the child that is. There may be a child that's more successful than another child, and so it may make a lot of sense to leave certain assets to certain children based on their income and the tax implications of them receiving certain assets over others. So there's a lot of questions that come into play.
For sure. I think of 1 in 9 families has a child with special needs who maybe is going to be dependent on that money financially to survive. That needs to be accounted for and planned for as well.
Right. Absolutely. Special needs trusts need to be put in place.
Right.
And as we talked about before with legacy planning, oftentimes people don't do things as far as getting trust and wills and things like that in place because there's lawyers involved, there's legalese, there's expense involved, It's things that most people don't understand. And when we don't understand something, oftentimes we don't do anything about it. We just ignore
put it off. Yeah,
put it off.
Put our heads in the sand
Put our
like
hands in the sand.
ostriches,
Yeah, that's
right?
right.
But that's not conducive to
Well,
making
and that's
sure
one of the
your wishes
reasons
are
we've
carried
tried
out.
to simplify most of these processes, bring everything into the base process that we manage so that we make sure that we at least address those issues.
Yep.
We'll sell it all the time. Says, hey, we're good with how you want your outcome to be. We just want to make sure you know what your outcome looks like.
Yes. Well, and everyone's desires are different, and there's no judgment in that, but you just need to know what someone wants to do, and then you can put together the most efficient plan for them. And I think of specifically, as we think about this great wealth transfer, this is a perfect way to illustrate, we say this on the show a lot, how you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others, especially from a tax standpoint. And if folks are wanting to pass on wealth or you're expecting to inherit wealth, you want to make sure you're doing that in the most tax efficient manner possible. So I think this is a great time to share with folks this retirement tax bill calculator that you've created to really show people what's at stake if these conversations aren't had and this great wealth transfer is not planned for. So why don't you share a little bit about this retirement tax bill calculator that you've created?
Well, the big issue when people think about taxes and passing is it's still estate taxes. They still think, oh gosh, I have this estate tax issue. Well, I mean, unless you're a single person with over 14 million or a married jointly with over 28 million, estate taxes really aren't much of an issue at all. It's really about those income taxes that are unavoidable.
Right.
And so we just want people, again, as I said earlier, we're okay as long as you're okay with knowing what you want to have in place. We just want to make sure you know what the consequences are going to be and that you're good within that outcome. Not just the thought of, gosh, I don't want to go do anything, or I just, it's easier just to leave things alone, but sometimes easier is not efficient.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's put up the website now that you can go and see what your potential tax liability might be in retirement. RetirePathTaxTest.com. You can also scan that QR code, and let's walk folks through what they're going to see when they go to that site, shall we?
You bet.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're going to put in some basic information. We're going to put up a screen here that's going to show you what that will look like. Tell folks what they need to put in.
Well, they need to put in their name, their email address, also what the amount they actually have in their qualified accounts currently.
Yep, your current age as well, right?
And then you're going to use your assumed tax liability and then what you are projecting your growth rate to be on those accounts.
Right, so just that very basic information, again, no strings attached, and then once you click submit, bam, look at this. Walk folks through what they're seeing right there.
Yeah, well, on the left side, we're seeing what the government's planned for you, estimated based on the growth of your accounts and what taxes you would pay over time, based on doing it in the most efficient manner possible, which is on the right-hand side of the screen.
Right, and that is such a staggering difference between what the government's tax plan is for you if you do nothing versus how much less you could pay in tax if you engage in some strategic tax planning. So you'll see that immediately, but then you're also going to receive a detailed report emailed to you. This is just one page of that report. Again, for this particular example, it was someone who had an account value, a traditional IRA of $500,000. And again, it's mind-blowing when you think, okay, the account value is currently $500,000 today. Look at what the government's tax plan is for this person. They could have to pay over $1 million in taxes over their lifetime. What in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering when we have people come into our office and they see these things. And when we're talking to people about Roth conversions, I mean, people have a hard time stomaching what the taxes are today. But when you show them what the implications of actually leaving that over time and letting that grow and how much the taxes accumulate in that, it's, so if you're not having those conversations with your current advisor, you've never taken a look at that, please give us a call, scan the QR code, set up a time to come in with us. We'd love to talk to you about ways that we can help you minimize those taxes.
For sure. I know that once folks visit RetirePathTaxTest.com and you see those numbers for yourself, you're going to want to reach out. You're going to say, help, Dale, Mark, I need to meet with you, right? So there's even a button on that site you can click to submit to schedule that complimentary meeting. Or again, you're welcome to call this number on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-3893, or scan this QR code and that will get you connected as well. When we come back, we're going to be talking more deeply about this potential tax bill in retirement and the implication as it relates to the great wealth transfer. Stay with us.
didn't start out in Medicare. Medicare is something that came along later in my career. I started with Northwestern Mutual as a college intern back in the early 90s. And I was with Northwestern Mutual as an advisor for about 12 years. And then I actually went out on my own after that. And it was actually when I joined another firm that needed somebody to get into Medicare because Medicare was going through a lot of changes. That's when I got into the Medicare business. And I became an intern at Northwestern Mutual through a college, job fair day. And that there was the advisor for Northwestern Mutual out of Little Rock. The district manager came over with his recruiting specialist, and that's how I ended up as an investment advisor at Northwestern Mutual. So that's how I got into the game. The thing that I enjoy most about my career is being able to help people on a daily basis. I mean, to literally see people come in the office that are scared and there's a lot of trepidation about what do I do and where do I go from here, and having them leave with that weight lifted off of their shoulders. Making sure that everyone that comes in to our office leaves feeling like they've received something of value from us.
Welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk. I'm Kristen Oakley here with both Dale and Mark from Retire Path Wealth, and we've been talking today about the importance of understanding this great wealth transfer. The fact that $84 trillion is estimated to pass from the baby boomer generation on down. Of course, that creates implications for those of you who are passing on the wealth and for those of you who might be inheriting it. I want to get back to this whole tax conversation, but it was interesting. We were talking during the break how a lot of folks, I think, put off this kind of stuff. One, because it can be really overwhelming, but also when you're in tax season and you're just focused on last year and it's such a hassle getting stuff together, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, I can't engage in any tax planning. I'm just trying to do the tax prep from the past year. What would you say to someone who's kind of going, yeah, I'll maybe get to that later this year?
My first statement is, wouldn't it be nice to not have to worry about that anymore? And all I mean by that is, let's change what we've done in the past and let's do something different moving forward. If we have a plan in place for how to approach, for how to attack this issue, as opposed to allowing it to just come upon us. The reality is for the vast majority of people, they're going to fall under standard deduction still today, so there's not a lot to be done to prepare for your tax planning. Your CPA or someone else is going to be doing that for you. And obviously, again, for those of you that are out there today that don't have someone, that you're not approaching this, we do tax prep in our office for our clients. And so that may be the opportunity for you to get introduced to the services that we provide to find out how we actually work and can improve that situation. But it's funny, we always want to use the issue that we're trying to overcome as our excuse many times for not doing something. Yeah, taxes are my issue, but gosh, I got to prepare for this before we can figure anything else out.
Well, what a peace of mind you can provide if someone comes and they can not only do their tax prepreparation, but their tax planning all under the in-house,
well, and that's one reason we started doing it, because that's what we were hearing from people. It streamlines the process, and we're looking forward through the windshield, not through the rearview mirror. And so that's one reason. So our clients don't have to worry about how things are going to, because we've already addressed that in the income planning throughout the year. So there won't be surprises at tax time, because no one likes surprises at tax time. No one likes having to write a big check. Well,
and one other issue, and again, I know it doesn't fit into exactly what we're discussing here, but to the investment management side, so many people traditionally have utilized mutual funds. And again, we're not here to bash the mutual fund because it's a perfectly great way to accumulate dollars, but they're just not tax efficient. The other big issue that a lot of people are running into as well is if they've been a good saver, they now have this thing again now called 1099 INT that is adding to their current tax bill as well that they haven't had to deal with for 15 years. So there's just a lot of complexities that have added to the situation that we think this is all good stuff. Hey, my money that's just sitting is now earning something for me, but then it's possibly pushing me into a higher tax bracket. We're talking about doing tax planning through generational wealth. Well, that just makes my bucket that much smaller.
Right, right. Well, getting back to the specifically the tax implications, I think sometimes folks say, I don't want to worry about paying the tax on this money and doing something like a Roth conversion. My kids are just going to have to deal with it. Why is it so problematic, though, for the people who are inheriting that wealth from a tax standpoint?
Well, I mean, it's a ticking time bomb. I mean, and the people that are inheriting the dollars are oftentimes in their highest earning years, and that's or have just retired, and they're taking money out of qualified plans too. So it's it's tax upon tax.
And now they have to take out.
And they have to take it out within
talk
10
about that.
years. I mean,
Right.
so that's created even more problems. They're having to take out more dollars. And oftentimes people take it out more quickly than the 10 years anyway. They're oftentimes taken out, if not in one lump sum, just over a few years. So they're taking out larger amounts and putting themselves in higher tax brackets.
Well, I'm so glad that you created this retirement tax bill calculator. We'll put it up here for you one more time to visit. Again, it's completely complimentary to you, retirepathtaxtest.com, or you can scan that QR code. And again, what are folks going to discover when they visit the site?
That the reality is that all that money in that account is not just theirs, that there's going to be some depletion of those assets, but that there are strategies that are available where we can minimize the effect of the taxes on those outcomes. Everybody's situation is going to be different, guys. This is not meant to be an answer for you. It is just a visual to show what the possible outcomes can be as to what two extremes are. The reality is everybody's going to fall somewhere in the middle. And if you don't have a plan in place, most likely you're going to get one of those outcomes, and in many times it's the most negative of the outcomes.
Right. Yeah. Well, and awareness is the first step. And as we shared, a lot of people are just completely unaware of what their potential tax bill might be in retirement. So any parting thoughts as we close out today's show?
Well, I mean, I think it's just really important for you, if you haven't taken a look at your tax implications, whether it's the great wealth transfer and actually receiving inheritance, or it's even based on your own retirement savings that you have that are in qualified plans, we'd really encourage you today, go to our retirepathtaxtest.com, take a look at that, and also call and schedule a time to come in and meet with us, scan the QR code. We'd love to see you and help you actually develop your own retire path.
Wonderful. That's what you all specialize in doing, is helping people develop written income plans and comprehensive holistic plans that touch all these important areas of one's financial life. So thank you so much, Dale and Mark, and thank you for joining us. We look forward to being back with you next time here on Arkansas Money Talk. We'll see you next time.